Basically, Slade is like, guess what, Teen Titans? I've done it. I've created a device that will allow me to stop time.
You have a really good Slade impression.
I didn't know that sounded... I'm very interested in you, Robin.
Oh, boy.
No, Slade calls the Teen Titans and he's like, I've created a device that will stop time. See if you can catch me. And then they try to catch him, and Slade's like, I didn't create a device that could stop time. Are you kidding me? Whoa! When there's trouble, you know who to call. Welcome back to Nostalgia Club. My name is Michael. I'm joined by, to my left,
Victoria.
And to my right,
Jino.
Also known as to my further left, because you can just go around in a circle. There's 3 of us here, but we're talking about a team of 5 today. We're talking about the Teen Titans from the 2003 animated series.
Woo!
This is something that I watched when I was growing up. Victoria has a myriad of... Actually, I don't know if you watched it or not.
I definitely watched some Teen Titans. The theme song is very familiar to me. I did think it was interesting that the DVD set that you gave us to watch from, it alternates between the Japanese opening and the English opening, which I've never heard the Japanese opening before.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because depending on whether it's English or Japanese, it's the show telling you whether or not this episode's going to be serious or not.
I did not know that.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I did notice in Detention, which is one of the episodes we watched, when the villain is chasing them around, it plays a Japanese song as well.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, the Japanese song is supposed to signify a silly episode where you don't really need to pay attention to the plot. And then a English theme song is supposed to denote a serious episode where things get serious.
Huh.
Interesting. I didn't draw that connection. I just assumed it did a weird alternation. But it wasn't even like every other episode, so I don't know why I thought that.
Well, this is surprising to me in large part because, Jino, I feel like from what you told us, you have the least connection to the Teen Titans show.
I've seen a couple of episodes before. I did make a concerted effort to try to watch the series in college, and I ended up failing because I couldn't get into it. And I was disappointed in myself because so many of my friends loved it when they were kids, and I thought maybe I had bad taste.
No. I mean, I really liked this growing up, but when I sat down to be like, okay, what episodes should we watch? I was like, I don't want to watch a bunch of episodes of Teen Titans. I'm 31, and it's just not quite my vibe anymore. But I did still have a good time in the end. Teen Titans, even now, always looks better in retrospect in my mind. You can still enjoy plenty of it in the process, but compared to, I don't know, we're spoiled for a lot of great animated television shows these days.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know, for a while I was saying, I feel like Teen Titans was an important stepping stone that got us to things like Avatar: The Last Airbender and all that. But then Gina was like, well, what about 1990s Batman? And I was like, oh yeah. And you were like, I haven't even watched that much of Batman, but I was like, I don't know how I forgot that. So I guess it's always been a bit of a give and take. You get some animated shows that treat their characters more like characters and less like toys at various times in history, for as long as that history is, which isn't terribly long when it comes to animated television.
No, it's not.
Not in the grand scheme. But Teen Titans was, I feel like, a weird, unique phenomenon that I could have done more research, probably looking at, I wonder if anyone's written essays about this period of television animation or even just the Teen Titans itself, because it does feel, I'm not sure I've seen any other show on Cartoon Network or otherwise with its kind of style exactly. It was sort of its own thing, at least in my mind. And the age range, or I don't know, demographic or whatever it was shooting for, seems... like, I can't think of very many, if any other, like, contemporary shows that occupied that same niche. 2003 to 2006?
That seems right. They did 5 seasons in a movie?
Yes, I think so.
We should establish the episodes we watched in preparation for this recording, this podcast. Season 1, episodes 6, 9, and 10, and 13. And then Season 2, episodes 14 and 19.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just one long list of numbers, so the numbers don't reset for every season, the episode numbers, that is.
Yes. Masks, Nevermore, Detention, Apprentice Part 2, How Long is Forever, and Date with Destiny.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other great episodes. The way Teen Titans as a show is sort of structured is that each season kind of has like a focus on one particular character in addition to its various other episodic filler pieces. I kind of was trying to give you a core Teen Titans experience. So it's like, all right, here's, some antics with the team, and we get like a little bit of Slade, who's like a well-known villain, and Robin's whole thing with that, and we see how the team functions just trying to get along with itself in wacky circumstances, just get a feel for their personalities, and then hopefully you get a feel for just each person's dynamic within the team, more or less. So that's sort of why I chose those episodes. And they are rather Robin-centric. That first sort of season in particular is very much focused on Robin's dynamic with the team, and the nefarious plans of Slade, whose larger ambitions and goals are never really explored. He's just sort of...
He's evil!
He's also Ron Perlman.
He's Ron Perlman!
Which is nice and fun.
I did appreciate, though, that the episodes you chose do also highlight some of the other main characters, too. Like the first one that I watched, which was Nevermore, is focused on Raven. That just clicked for me that the title is a reference to the Raven. Sorry. And then How Long is Forever is sort of like a Starfire focused one, which was also just a classic early 2000s. You got to have an episode where they go to the future and meet their future selves episode. I feel like Teen Titans gave me a little bit of Totally Spies vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the show that I can compare it to the most.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think, but you're totally right. It's the same
style
vibe
of humor
like,
and like the villains who are sort of like a bit over the top. It has like a similar kind of tone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And borrowing heavily from Japanese anime.
Yeah, but also like still finding its sea legs in terms of borrowing from that style.
Yeah, not quite sure how to do it, but trying really hard.
Yeah.
This show, even if I didn't watch a lot of it as a kid, it had such an impact not only on, that generation, but also the DC universe and how it was perceived as a whole. I feel like I know all of the characters' arcs. I feel like I know all of the major events in the show, even if I haven't seen those episodes, just because it was talked about so much online. And also because I've watched a lot of the DC animated movies that have been coming out in like the 2010s, and also Young Justice.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess Teen Titans is an adaptation of the comics. And I feel like those shows also take influence from Teen Titans aesthetic and its specific adaptation of those comic elements. So like I'm able to see the Young Justice Beast Boy, where that influence came from this Beast Boy, which obviously came from the original Beast Boy. So it's interesting to see like to watch like such a foundational show, I guess, in a lot of other media I've consumed. And it was also very nice to learn through watching these episodes that Teen Titans was not as irreverent to the source material as I assumed it would be. It paid a lot of homage to the original source material, and I think follows those original storylines pretty closely through the very limited sort of children's cartoon, but also like their limited access to copyrighted characters.
Yeah.
Like all the Batman references, but we can't show Batman because we don't have the
can show
rights.
bats in reference to Batman.
Yeah. We can show bats and a man, but never together.
Robin can say, I already have a father. And then we show bats, and that's the closest we can get.
That was a pretty cool moment for me, though, because I was like, oh, it's Batman. I guess my background with Teen Titans is I definitely watched some episodes of Teen Titans on Cartoon Network. But I think the rest of my knowledge around Teen Titans is sort of just being around people who were fans of the show and absorbing knowledge that way. But also, I think my brother and I watched more animated Batman TV shows. And so Robin featuring in some of those shows made me more familiar with the character, or with Nightwing, or whichever version of Robin is in the show. We also had a Teen Titans Uno deck. I remember this very distinctly.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Good merchandising time.
Yeah, so there's certain characters that I recognize from the Uno deck, even if I don't remember exactly who they are or what they do. The characters themselves, like, I'm pretty familiar. I don't think I know their full story arc like Jino does, but I at least know, like, oh, I know who these characters are, and I like these characters, even if I've never fully watched the show myself.
I should also mention that another way I've accessed these characters recently is through the artist Gabriel Piccolo. Piccolo? Picolo. It's Brazilian.
It's probably Piccolo.
Gabriel Piccolo, and I apologize if I'm butchering that name, but his specific interpretation of the Teen Titans through social media, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever, the way he draws them has become so popular that actually there are now official Teen Titans graphic novels using his art as an interpretation.
I've definitely seen these.
Yeah, as an interpretation of this show.
Wait, show me.
You've definitely seen these online.
I probably have.
Let me see. If I just look up.
Oh, yeah. I really like some of the ones where it's just like the Teen Titans, but doing everyday things.
Yes, okay. I have seen those.
Like a really fascinating interpretation of the TV show specifically from a very nostalgic perspective, like aging them up, putting them in sort of everyday situations, making them more casual. I've consumed a lot of that version of Teen Titans.
It honestly seems like it'd be a real nice thing to consume in like a mid-20s to like 30s kind of range.
Yeah. It's incredibly nostalgic, which is fitting for our show. So I guess you could say that like the cultural impact of Teen Titans has allowed me to experience a lot of it without actually watching the show. Sort of just around. But like I feel like I know like Raven and her dad and Beast Boy and Terra and Blackfire and Starfire and Slade and Speedy and the little plus and minus twins and the guy with the creepy
Menos.
Yeah, and the creepy X-ray goggle guy, and Cyborg's there too. I don't know what his deal is.
I don't know. But yeah, that's fascinating because it is one thing we didn't get to in watching this selection of episodes is that it does have a rather wide cast, the Teen Titans show. It balloons out the further you go.
Isn't there like a Red Arrow or something too? That's sort of a rival with Robin.
I think is that Speedy? I think that's Speedy.
Is that Speedy?
Yeah.
That's
Kid
Speedy. Kid Flash. That's so confusing to me. That confused me in Young Justice too. Speedy and Kid Flash. But Speedy's not fast. Ugh. Anyway.
How dare they?
How dare they?
How dare they try and confuse us like this?
I can talk about things that surprised me going into the show after having experienced it sort of adjacently, finally sitting down and trying to watch it again.
Sure.
Especially thank you for these handpicked episodes, because I feel like watching them chronologically, I had to sort of plow through a lot of these zero plot, and I mean zero plot, completely nonsensical, classic
pure antics,
like an Ed and Eddie or like Cat Dog level of just like they're just making noise, like, lights and colors and making noise.
Sorry, before we get into your notes though, Jino, I think it would be helpful.
Sorry, I really want you to be like, before we get into your notes, can we get into my notes?
Jino, this is not your show. This is our show. No, I'm kidding. I do want to give the listener just a brief summary of each episode that we watched, just for additional context, in case they haven't watched it in a while, because we're probably going to be referencing things that happen in these episodes, and it might be really confusing if you haven't watched Teen Titans in a while and you're just like, what episode does this go to? So I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, real quick. Teen Titans is about a team of 5 teenage superheroes that all live in Titans Tower. It's a building shaped in a letter T.
And it's too big to fit them.
It's too big. It's way too big.
And yet they're always in each other's space.
Yes. It sits on an island on the bay outside of a place called Jump City. Just, the city that, Superman's got Metropolis, Batman's got Gotham. They've got Jump City.
Mm-hmm.
You got Robin, who is, I believe, supposed to be like the first Robin that was Batman's, apprentice, ward. You have Starfire, who is an alien, superpowered and can shoot laser bolts and stuff from her eyes and hands. You have Beast Boy, who can transform into animals. He's small and green. You have Cyborg, who is a cyborg. And you have Raven, whose vibe and deal still escapes me to this day, but she is gray and she has like a diamond on her forehead, and she is like
a sorcerer?
She's like a sorcerer. She's the spawn.
She's part demon and she's very goth.
Yes. Yeah. And so they go around saving the day. Victoria, tell us about the episodes that we watched.
Yeah.
Starting with Masks, I suppose.
I was just going to go in chronological order, actually.
That's also okay.
Because that's how I listed them.
I think Masks.
No, Nevermore is episode 6.
Never mind.
It's okay.
Nevermore? Never mind.
I'll start with Nevermore, which is episode 6 of season 1. In this episode, the Titans, they fight off a villain called Dr. Light. He has the classic, one-liners that you get from these TV shows, which again reminded me of Totally Spies. But afterwards, Beast Boy kind of has some issues with Raven. I think it's like sort of early. I was going to ask, like, how did the Teen Titans become a group?
All right.
Because it feels like this is early.
Well, let me just talk. This is actually interesting to bring up. Originally, I knew in season 5, they had an episode that was like how the Teen Titans met. And originally, I was going to be like, well, this will be the episode that I give to everyone. And then I put it on, and maybe it was the fact that I was watching like this, beat up, like I bought this DVD set from a Walmart, and it was already beat up when I got it.
Yeah.
I was going to note, because I was like, didn't Michael buy this? And it already looks kind of like the box is kind of ripped.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Also, when I opened up the case, all the DVDs were scattered throughout. So this definitely felt like a return. Anyway, that was the first episode I put on, and I think maybe, I wouldn't be surprised, season 5, they have like an all-out like blowout with all of their characters, so I think they probably busted their animation budget on that, I don't know if that's how it works, but I put on this episode of How the Teen Titans Met. Oh, and it looked rough, gang. It looked pretty rough. Like, the first shot is like a shot of space, and there's Earth, and I'm like, it looks a little grainy, but it's whatever 2003 could produce for TV standards on a much larger screen that I'm watching. And then a spaceship slid into frame, and it like warped as it did unnaturally. And I was like, this seems like a formatting error. And just the whole episode, it just seemed like they didn't have a lot of room left for animation. There's like a point where Robin and Starfire like connect on the same level of like, oh, I'm developing like the beginning of nascent feelings for this person. And the way they show that is they change the background a little bit, so it's like a softer color set, and then the two characters just kind of like slide across the screen, like automation point A, automation point B, just click and drag across the screen. And I'm like, I think they were short on time when they made this episode, so that's why I didn't show it to you. The basic plot of it is that an alien ship that's transporting Starfire to be like their servant or whatever because they capture her or something. She breaks out and then flies to Earth. And then Robin, who has set up shop in Jump City because he's like, I don't want to be Batman's guy anymore, finds her at the same time that Beast Boy does because he just left his former team called the Doom Patrol at the same time that Raven does, and Cyborg as well. They're just kind of wandering. And they just sort of bond over helping Starfire beat these aliens and then decide to be a team after that.
Wait, that's kind of cute that they became a team because of Starfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in one of the episodes, the whole plot is that Starfire is worried that they won't be friends in the future.
Yeah.
She's the glue that holds them together.
Yeah.
She is the glue. She also... Starfire's character is interesting because in that episode, like, she comes from a warrior culture distinctly is the thing. But her attitude in most of the show is very much like, let's not fight. Let's just kind of like be friends. And I'm so happy to be here, not immersed in violence all the time. That turn is very interesting. Like, the moment she gets out of her cultural context, she changes in a very significant way.
Don't they explore that with Blackfire when she visits Earth and it's revealed that Starfire is not accepted in her society because of her attitude or something like that?
Maybe. It's been a long time since
I've seen a gift set of discussing an alien slur, and I feel like that's related.
Yes, there is an episode that's all about that, which I debated having us watch, but I was like, ultimately, we'll go with whatever that episode is called. Tomorrow Never Dies. Tomorrow, the future is never forever. Is the future...
How long is forever?
How long is forever? Sorry, tangent.
It's okay. No, I started the tangent. If you've listened to Nostalgia Club, our summaries are infrequent.
Long and winding and last the whole friggin' episode.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry. Back to Nevermore. Beast Boy feels like he doesn't trust Raven because she's kind of like gloomy and doesn't really participate in team bonding activities, which is basically just breakfast because Beast Boy and Cyborg are obsessed with breakfast. It's very funny.
Isn't it also because she tried to eat a man?
Yes, right. Like the villain, like she kind of like went a little bit too far when they were fighting him. They had to stop her. So Beast Boy's kind of like, I don't know how I feel about Raven. I'm going to go to her room and spy on her. And Cyborg goes with him. And at first, Beast Boy just kind of wants to like hang out outside her door and not really go in, but then Cyborg pushes the door down because he's like, you got to confront her and talk this out. And they end up going in her room and they're looking around. And of course, Beast Boy is curious about stuff that's in her room, so he picks up a mirror and they end up in what is revealed to be Raven's mindscape. The rest of the episode is just hijinks trying to get out of the mindscape. And ultimately, at the end, Beast Boy and Raven become better friends. and it's very nice.
And they fight her dad.
They do fight her dad, yes.
They fight her dad / her father issues.
Yeah, no, like literally fighting daddy issues.
And one of the most interesting things about that episode, of course, is that Raven's personality traits manifest as, like, the animated character of Raven with a different color cloaks manifests in different ways.
There's, like, a happy Raven and a sad Raven. I related to the Raven that thinks everyone hates her. Oh. Not hates her, but, like, there's a Raven who was, like,
insecure
just talking,
Raven.
Yeah, insecure Raven talking to Beast Boy and being like, you don't like me very much, do you? And Beast Boy was like, no, he doesn't really know what to say. Like, he's like, yeah, like a little bit, but I don't not like you. I just think that's like a real experience.
It was really interesting because all of the dialogue, you know, they showed how all the Ravens are different, but all the dialogue is about Raven's feelings about Beast Boy.
Yeah.
And how complicated they are. It was a really amazing way to show a character dynamic just plainly on the screen without it feeling like a cheat.
Yeah.
She wants to impress Beast Boy. She thinks Beast Boy's really funny. She thinks Beast Boy doesn't like her. She doesn't want Beast Boy to know any of these things. Yeah. She wants to seem cool, but also she wants to be friends. Like, you know, it's cool.
Yeah. I really like that one. And it was a good one for me to start with. The next episode is Masks. This is kind of like, for us, the start of introducing the main conflict with Slade. Robin is very obsessed with finding Slade. And so his solution is he dons this identity of Red X and he goes and starts stealing things for Slade in order to try and get Slade's attention and then sort of like start working with him in an attempt to foil his plans. But he doesn't tell the rest of the team about it. And so they're off fighting him, not realizing that it's him. And then when they finally do realize, they feel very betrayed because they're like, we're supposed to be a team, but when you start obsessing over Slade, you kind of just go on your own and you don't trust us anymore. And then it also starts this common thread of them comparing him to Slade, which he gets really upset about if you say like, oh, you and Slade are very similar. And Slade says it all the time too. I just want to say I thought it was funny because they like do this reveal where Red X takes off his mask and it's Robin. I thought it was funny that Robin wears his eye mask underneath the Red X mask.
He never takes it off.
Never takes it off. The next one that we watched was Detention. This is one of the filler episodes, which I thought it was hilarious that this one came right after Masks, because Masks is such a plot-heavy, and it ends with Starfire like calling out Robin for being a lone wolf, essentially. And then right after that is Detention, which is just an episode where they're like stuck in this like crazy fun house
simulation
room where they keep getting Beast Boy keeps getting hypnotized. The villain tries to hypnotize the rest of them. And that's it. That's all that happens.
And what is this villain, Victoria?
I don't remember his name. He's very comically British, though.
He is comically and played by Malcolm McDowell.
The villain's name is Mad Mod.
And he is unnecessarily British. Does not impact the plot. This is one of the episodes that has zero plot. Actually no plot, no character development. It's just zany antics, animation tricks.
And it was really hard to watch because of the amount of
flashing lights,
hypnotizing graphics. And I was like, whoa, I had to look away multiple times.
This show is incredibly unfriendly to photosensitive viewers. It hurts to watch for me, and I don't have photosensitivity, but even then I was like, whoa, all right.
Yeah.
Calm down, please.
I did appreciate the art references, though. I feel like there were a lot of art references that I would not have understood at the age I was when I was watching Teen Titans. So in that sense, I was like, I guess it is good that I'm watching this now that I'm older. But other than that, I was like, yep.
Yeah. And an extended Scooby-Doo door chase reference.
Yeah.
That lasts a really long time.
At one point, I was like, just stay in the hallway. Oh my gosh. After that, we get back to plot. So we watched The Apprentice. It's the season finale of season 1. Part 1 was optional, but I did watch it for additional context because I wanted it.
The reason I just gave you part 2 is just because at the beginning of part 2, they kind of summarize what happens in part 1.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in part 1 is basically Slade is like, he phones the Teen Titans and he says, guess what, Teen Titans? I've done it. I've created a device that will allow me to stop time.
You have a really good Slade impression.
I didn't know that sounded... I'm very interested in you, Robin.
Oh, boy.
It's so creepy.
I want you to be my apprentice, Robin. I also play Hannibal Chow in Pacific Rim, Robin. And that's something we talked about in a previous season. No, Slade calls the Teen Titans and he's like, I've created a device that will stop time. See if you can catch me. And then they try to catch him. And Slade's like, I didn't create a device that can stop time. Are you kidding me?
It was just a plot to lure Robin away from the rest of the Teen Titans. And then he injects the rest of the Teen Titans with like nanobots into their bloodstream.
He does it via comic book laser.
Yeah.
So they all get hit with a laser and they're like, oh, it didn't work. But surprise, it actually has nanobots.
Yeah. And then it allows him to like remote control.
Delete them.
Yeah, which is not great. So he basically convinces Robin to become his apprentice because that's been his goal all along, apparently, all season, is he's been testing Robin to see if he can become his apprentice. There is an interesting sort of like moral debate about, because Robin, again, like in Masks, he starts stealing things in order to get to Slade. So Slade is like, just because you started stealing to get me doesn't make stealing right. So Robin's sort of like wrestling with this like gray area of like, how far is too far to stop this villain? Robin, he ends up donning like a new suit and working for Slade. And then the Teen Titans go after him and he tries not to fight them. But Slade is like, you have to fight them because otherwise I'll kill them, which I was like, they're both sort of doing the same thing, but okay.
Kill them, Robin, or I'll kill them faster.
Yeah, there is a really cool shot of Starfire in this episode, though, where I was like, they spent a lot of budget on that one.
Is that where it's like the standoff?
Yeah, it's like a standoff. It's like a close-up of both Robin and Starfire. Starfire is so bubbly and cheerful the entire, like in all the episodes we've watched, and this is where she like gets really serious, and you can really feel how powerful she is, so I like that moment. The Teen Titans, they ultimately figure out that Slade has injected nanobots into their bloodstream, and then they decide to go help Robin anyways. So they confront Slade, and Robin decides, screw it, I'm going to inject myself with nanobots. So now when you press the button, I will also get deleted. And so Slade gives up his plan.
And then they beat the ever-living crap out of Slade. Yeah. Which, I'll be honest, this was one of the later episodes because I watched more than I ultimately gave you, trying to like get a feel for it, and I was getting pretty tired. But when I reached the end of that episode, and Slade is like, until next time, Robin, and then goes to run away, and then all the Titans are like, get back here.
Yeah.
And then just beat him up. I was like, yeah, get him. There's like a move where like someone knocks Slade into the air, and then Raven uses her powers to like telekinetically grab his ankles and tie him together and like pinwheels him into the ground. And I was like, yeah,
because
brutal.
He runs away so many times, or he uses robot versions of himself.
Yeah, he pulls a Dr. Wily.
Yeah. After that, we watched How Long Is Forever. That's the episode I referenced earlier where they try to stop this guy who's from the future and he's trying to steal this device.
100 years in the future.
Starfire ends up going into the wormhole with him, and she ends up 20 years in the future where she finds out that all the Teen Titans have broken up because of that moment where Starfire entered the wormhole. And without Starfire, their team just kind of like slowly drifted apart. She meets Nightwing.
Which is Robin.
Yeah, who's Robin. And there's this interesting debate about whether the future is able to be changed or not. But she does make it back. And then they celebrate this holiday, like a holiday from Starfire's home planet, which is like a friendship celebration holiday or something. And,
a very warrior-like holiday.
Yeah. And so she feels more reassured that she can prevent that future from happening. And then the last episode we watched, which you said, Michael, that this was the first episode you ever watched.
From what I remember,
Yeah. This is a bit more nonsensical. There's a villain. As soon as he showed up, I was like, Mothman? But he's called Killer Moth. Okay.
And he has a normal human teenage daughter.
He has a teenage daughter.
And he's a good dad.
Yeah. Who wants to go to prom with Robin. They basically like threaten Robin and they're like, if you don't go to prom with my daughter,
I'll release all of these moths I've made into the city and they'll eat everything.
Yeah. So Robin goes to prom. Starfire goes with him because she's she's jealous. She doesn't want Robin to go to prom with this girl. Yeah.
She like throws a limo or something. Yeah. And then beats up the girl.
And then they go, and Robin is just stalling for time until Beast Boy, Raven, and Cyborg can find Killer Moth's lair. And they end up defeating him in his lair. And then the daughter releases the moths, but then her boyfriend, who has a spider for a face,
Like a full spider.
Yeah.
Like the whole spider body is the head.
Whole
and
spider
then the
body
human
with the
body
legs.
dangles under the head, just kind of like loose.
Hate
Honestly,
that.
I kind of like the design. I think it's kind of cool.
I hated it. But that's typical.
He shows up and then they have to fight him and
Yeah.
they take care of the situation.
Yeah, and then they arrest all of them.
This is the better version of Max from Droon.
No!
Spider body, human head? No, no, no. The whole spider, human body.
I disagree.
Yes, please.
I strongly disagree. Max is way better.
I mean, debatable.
Different kinds of chimeras, I guess.
I also found it funny when the spider boyfriend arrives and it's like, babe, I'm back.
Oh my god, and then
Like-
they kiss.
And they kiss. And at first I was like, gross, this random human and this Spider-Man. But then I was like, oh, right, her dad's a moth.
That's true. Okay.
So there is some
Yeah.
like
Precedent.
familial, yeah, there's precedent here. Like she's at least part bug. We just don't see that part, I guess.
That episode, I remember when I saw it for the first time thinking to myself, like, this is so weird. This, like, moth guy with, like, a teenage daughter who then wants to go to prom with Robin. But I remember enjoying the action well enough. Most of all, I was like, and this is whatever, Michael, and like, I might have seen this episode as a repeat later on, but like 4th or 5th grade, I got invested in the Robin and Starfire dynamic.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah.
I was like, because Starfire really freaking cares about
yeah.
having like Robin's affection in this episode.
This was one of the episodes I saw as a kid. I remember this one
Oh.
vividly. And
Wow.
I remember also caring a lot about Robin and Starfire. And
Hey,
yeah.
I've watched this episode for the first time, and I was like, I also care about Robin and Starfire.
It's also, I think, one of the, kind of from a story point of view, it's like more tightly written than a number of the others. Like, this is
Yeah.
season 2, they were getting their stride. There's aspects of it that frankly remind me of like Gravity Falls in terms of like the wackiness of, here's our cryptid-esque character in terms of Killer Moth, but he's got this part of him that's kind of mundane and
Yeah.
comical. Like, I've got a teenage daughter. She's upset that her boyfriend broke up with her. And then we take what we see earlier in the episode of the Teen Titans going after this guy with a spider head, just like, normal whatever Teen Titan stuff. And then they pay it off later in the episode with
and then
him.
that turns out he's the boyfriend.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is tight writing. It all wraps up in a nice loop.
Yeah, again, there's some really excellently plotted episodes in this show that are masterful, and then there's
Detention.
which again is zero plot. Just fight the British man.
They don't even explain how they got there. Like, they drop you right in, and you're just there for the entire episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's literally nothing that can be said about that episode except, and this is true for all the episodes, the fight scenes were shockingly good.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the choreography.
Yeah.
And the stylization, too.
Mm.
Because a lot of what I remembered from the Teen Titans aesthetic is those, like, honestly, the anime-ification reactions, like the kind of goofy, like, out-of-style reactions that the characters have sometimes to, like,
Yeah.
jokes and stuff. I don't think those work very well in retrospect.
I love when they turn into little chibi versions of themselves, though.
Yeah,
That's
like,
really
like
cute.
that. No, that is really cute. But like when they go like blah or something and their face becomes big and square and like kind
Yeah.
of droopy and stuff. I feel like those don't really fit the aesthetic as well, like in retrospect. But I was really impressed when they would go the other direction and become really stylized. Like the silhouettes or Raven Hulk slamming Slade into the ground. Really impressive.
There are wacky power sets in this series. Everything with Mad Mod doesn't make a lick of sense. Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, it's all drones and it's in the simulation dome. So it's like,
And they're all his face.
and they're all his face and there's lasers shooting. And it's like the power set of like maybe half of these villains at any given time is sort of up in the air. Red X in particular is like, which as we discover later in like season 3 and on, becomes a character in his own right. Like someone gets a hold of the suit Robin supposedly created.
Yeah, I was like, the Red X suit is really powerful.
It's frankly probably
Why-
more useful than Robin's.
Yeah, I was like, why isn't Robin wearing this all the time?
Because the red X suit is like on the backs of his hands, there's 2 red X's. And from these points, red X's made of like, I don't know, laser light can emerge and actually function as lasers, or they can turn into like spinning blades,
or they can be like restraints.
literally like physical hard restraints, or they
Yeah.
can turn into goop.
Oh, yeah.
And he like can throw a red X made of like adhesive out.
I think the idea is that Red X has like a bunch of gadgets
Yeah.
that he can just cycle in and out. So when he's fighting, he has
Very
a lot of
Batman.
tools in his arsenal. Robin's just got like spinny blade things.
It's the
Okay.
classic Bucky Barnes problem. When the character's a villain, he's so much more powerful than when he's on your side, and then he becomes kind of pathetic.
So you have stuff like that where you have characters with power sets that are like, it feels like, whatever we can do that we think is cool, what can we turn these red X's into? Goop, lasers, blades, whatever. And then you get fights where it's just like Robin versus Slade, and it's just a freaking brawl.
Yeah.
It's just two dudes punching and kicking and hitting and slapping and jumping and sliding. And it's like some
It's
of
really
that.
artistically well done.
Yeah, they have to think in detail about like, okay, how can we make this next sequence of the fight more interesting? And so they have a steam vent release, and the characters vanish into the smoke and then come from below, and then Robin throws his metal stick into a wall, and it gets stuck there, and then suddenly the characters, for just a brief section of that fight, are jumping on that metal pole, and it's just a part of the evolving choreography.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of artistic intent, did you guys pick up on the Taco Bell bongs? In
Wait,
detention?
what?
Every time he slams his staff down, it goes bong.
Is it the Taco Bell bong?
I think because the Taco Bell bong is those like electronic keyboards that have those different settings.
Yeah.
It's like one of those keys.
Oh.
So I think it's just they just bonged at different notation intervals or whatever.
Wow.
But I think I'm like 98% sure it's the Taco Bell bong.
I can't say I'm too familiar, but that's great.
Also, the Japanese ska jump scare in that episode was a little.
Just the montage.
Yeah.
Speaking of Japanese ska, or just or just music in general, we talked about this briefly. The theme song for the show was written by Puffy Amiyumi, which was
Didn't they have a TV show?
they did. It was
Yeah.
called Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi.
I've watched that show.
I maybe watched a little of it. Fascinating because it took the two like lead vocalists, this duo
Mhm.
that had gotten signed by Sony, and I think chose to be a duo just from a cursory Wikipedia search.
Mhm.
It took their career into a very interesting direction that I don't think I've ever really seen repeated, where you just have these two artists become the subject and lead characters of a very stylized animated show that's about them as artists, but
Yeah.
like very, surreal and wacky.
It's sort of like Big Time Rush, but from a different direction.
Yes. I don't believe they played themselves. I think there was different voice actresses for
Oh,
them.
fascinating.
But it was still them.
Yeah.
I wonder how much their involvement with Teen Titans looped into... Because, I remember Teen Titans as like a tentpole like cartoon. A number of other people do. I wonder how impactful it must have been if the lead vocalists of the opening theme song got their own animated show, if it was for any reason due in connection to that. I mean, it must be to some degree.
I don't know. I do know that the music in general in the show surprised me in how good it was. I don't know why I should say surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but it was very good.
I did going back to the Robin and Slade fight, I was so impressed with how the music really set a really interesting tone for
Yeah.
that fight, where I was like, oh, this isn't just like a villain fight. This is like a battle of wills, and there's this interesting dynamic and relationship between these characters that they don't explicitly say or talk about, but the music really carries a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
It's very dramatic. A lot of electronic influence.
Mm-hmm.
Even after the fight's over, when they beat the crap out of Slade, and when they break his mask in half, and he's like, my face, and runs away, there's like a very stylized sequence where the lights are like fading in and out, and we just get these snapshots of the entire place they're in crumbling as the characters run to escape.
Yeah.
And the music feels almost like Inception-esque in that moment, with just how it's like delivering this feeling of heavy denouement and impact, like the denouement of a climax before the appropriate denouement.
The soundtrack's on YouTube and Spotify.
Wow. Sometimes you don't get that with these shows,
It
Yeah.
looks like,
unless it's all Puffy Amiyumi.
no. There's a lot of composers involved, but it looks like at least a significant chunk of the soundtrack is available.
Wow.
Wow.
I will be listening later
Yeah.
because it was pretty sick.
Yeah. It was great.
I did have a question in general about the setting. I watched in the order you recommended, so I watched Masks first, and I was confused during the cold open. Usually a cold open jumps into the middle of the action, but it felt like jumping into the middle of the action.
Ah.
Like there was no establishing shot Like in a lot of newer cartoons that do
Yeah.
cold open style, there's usually some sort of establishing shot of the setting so you can kind of realize, okay, now we're getting into it. But Masks, you just action, you know? The cops, the police, the guards,
They're just got like
law enforcement question mark?
They're wearing like these like high-tech suits where you can't see their faces. I think it's just supposed to be like if you had to imagine some version of like a generic shield agent or like shield trooper.
Yeah.
Who like the people who are not cops but are like the security for important facilities that have important floppy disks floating in the air, then those are what they are.
Yeah. The aesthetic of the city and the setting felt mostly modern, but with hints of like cyber futurism, like sort of sprinkled in. And so I wasn't sure if this was like, I mean, I know it's Teen Titans, it's DC, but is this like alternate reality or like future setting or like...
I think it's just 2003, but in the way that like superhero genre, like in the way that recent Marvel fare is like, it's like the same technology level as our world, but if we got access to some crazy alien stuff in addition to everything Tony Stark is doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's that.
That's fair. But it did confuse me for a while because I wasn't sure if the high-tech security was like, we're supposed to be rooting for them or not. And so I was like, are they supposed to be beating them up? Are they supposed to be helping them? Am I supposed to feel bad that they're getting like murdered by Red X or whatever?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's on me. That's a consequence of me being like, well, I got to start with something.
No, it's totally fair. It is interesting. I do like it when shows sort of establish a vibe but don't feel the need to explain it.
Except for when you have no idea what's going on.
I'm like, yeah, but I also did start in the middle of the series, so.
Yeah. Sorry, the reason my voice pitched up there is because when I think of what I think the first actual episode is, I think it's just the Teen Titans struggling to get along as they try and defeat a villain. Which I don't know if you really get much in the way of exposition there. Like, it literally is just like an episodic villain of the week kind of thing.
Yeah, there's definitely episodes of the show where you can just get dropped in if you're just like turning on Saturday morning cartoons and you don't watch cartoons all the time, which is what my brother and I experienced, where like we had Cartoon Network for a time, but we didn't watch every day. So the Teen Titans I watched was definitely just random episode in the middle of whatever season they were playing. So I'm sure if I watched the entirety of Teen Titans, which I kind of do want to try and do, there would probably be episodes where I'm like, I remember watching this one. I can definitely see how you guys remembered watching Man with Spider for Her Face specifically.
Yeah, it does seem like one of those shows, a lot of hit or miss episodes, but the hits are so good that they just last. I did have another sound design note. Every time Beast Boy turns to a gorilla, they use bear noises.
I love when he flies in as an eagle and it's always like the eagle screech.
Yeah.
To
but
be like,
also so
he's an
small
eagle.
as an eagle. I'm like, why do you keep turning into this tiny little bird?
I do like that Beast Boy's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense. If you can turn into all these animals, you probably feel a little bit bad about eating them.
Tofu's great.
Yeah.
I like tofu every day.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the point I made about the stylistic choices to like some of the reactions. I don't think they quite work for me personally in retrospect, but in general, I really appreciate how everything is hand-drawn and not stuck to a very specific model. Sort of like how early Steven Universe, like they had the ability to like warp and mash and like squish the characters around to make them more expressive. And then later Steven Universe, they're very like clean and in their little like character boxes. And you don't really get those like wacky designs anymore. I really like the hand-drawn wackiness of Teen Titans. I think it really works.
I think that's, again, another reason why it feels so nostalgic. Even if we have shows that are inspired by it now, because of like modern animation techniques and whatnot, we don't get that same charm.
It feels kind of garage grungy a little bit, which makes the more serious episodes work really, really well. Because, you know, everything feels very, I guess, like noir almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a kind of, I hesitate to make a comparison to say something like film grainy or whatever, because, I mean, I'm pretty dang sure there's probably a very different animation process involved in these shows compared to, like, literally what we have 10 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know for certain, but it certainly feels that way. Was there something you were going to say, Jino, about the episode Masks at a certain point?
I just liked how competent Robin was and how quickly he could take down every other Titan so specifically. It felt like a really cool nod to Batman again, about how he has a plan to kill every member of the Justice League. He gets to go rogue. Robin has a plan to immobilize every member of the Titans, and he does it so easily. All those debates online of who's the most powerful Titan, it feels so clearly Robin, even if his actual power level is very low compared to everyone else. He knows them so well, he could like psychologically take them apart.
Somebody made like just a clip that I don't know where it started, Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts or something, but it's just this guy going, Robin is a beast. Robin is taking hits from literal men made of cinder blocks and slamming into a wall. You see the wall crack beneath him and he gets right back up. And then he punches that same cinder block man and knocks him out.
He's crazy. Off that, Victoria, who's your favorite Titan?
Oh, I was actually thinking about this when I was watching, because before I went into the rewatch, I was like, Raven is definitely a favorite, just because her overall aesthetic is like similar to characters I usually like. I generally like the more like sort of reserved or socially awkward ones in animated shows like this. And I definitely like a lot of Raven art that people draw online and stuff like that. I also have like, this is so random. I don't, it's like,
what?
Twice now, I've done something, this was back in college, like it was just voice acting for like school projects and stuff. And then someone was like, oh, like we kind of need someone to do a voice for this character. And the best voice reference I can come up with is Raven from Teen Titans. And then I would like do it and they'd be like, yeah.
Okay, so now you need to do a Raven.
I don't want to.
Now you have to do a Raven. You can't say that and not do Raven.
Okay, that's true. She's like monotone, but not. What should I say?
Say, get out of my room.
Okay. This is weirdly so much more pressure than like normally. Okay. Get out of my room.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
What you said about like the monotone but not?
Yeah.
That's called voice acting.
The reference that everyone uses all the time is Aubrey Plaza's character in Parks and Rec. What's her name? Oh, man.
Oh.
I'm a fake fan.
We got so many characters swimming in our heads right now.
Yes, but everyone thinks like, oh, she's very monotone. But she's not. It's just like her...
A reduced range of frequencies and pitches that nonetheless still have a lot of emotional context.
Yeah, but people equate that like Raven. People equate Raven to monotone, but monotone is boring.
Yeah.
So you have to make monotone exciting.
Yeah. Aubrey Plaza's character is named April.
April.
Sorry, Aubrey Plaza. No, but it's specifically a voice that I know I can sort of like conjure up very quickly because I just imagined Raven from Teen Titans.
Raven does also have a lot of vocal fry too, I feel like.
Yes, I do like playing characters who have vocal fry because then I don't have to, it's easier for me. Anyway, sorry. So I really like Raven, but watching these episodes, I think I really, really like Starfire.
Starfire is one of those characters that as a kid, you're like, oh, like, she's so naive. She doesn't know anything, but she's so complicated.
Yeah.
And she's the least vindictive, I guess, of all of them.
She approaches everyone with openness and good faith.
Like, she's the one that I'd want to be friends with the most.
Yeah.
Her and Cyborg. I definitely want to be friends with Cyborg.
Yeah.
I don't think I could be roommates with Beast Boy. I think I would go insane.
And not because he's a bad guy, but just because he's kind of a mess of a human.
Yeah.
My favorite episode of all the ones we watched was the time travel one, because I just thought it was so interesting how it goes into her insecurities about her friendship with the Titans, how she really tries to bring in her own home culture into her new life on Earth as well. You get the sense that she misses home, even though she is very happy to be part of Teen Titans. Or the Titans, or whatever their team. Are they called the Teen Titans?
I think their team name is the Teen Titans, but when they reference themselves, they just say Titans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're kind of, because there's another team made of teens who call themselves Titans, but they're on are they on the other coast? They're called Titans East.
Oh.
And that's where we have Speedy and Mossy Menos and a few others.
So I guess the Teen Titans would technically be Titans West.
You'd think. I don't know if they ever refer to him in that way.
Yeah.
Unless they're the original and then Titans East.
I wasn't sure if the show is called Teen Titans or they're known as the Teen Titans because they're teenagers. Which, okay, speaking of which, in the time travel episode, Starfire goes into the future 20 years.
Yeah.
And it gets so old.
Yeah.
I was
Robin looks fantastic.
Robin looks
Robin
great.
is flowing hair, sculpted body. Raven looks the same.
I mean,
Well,
if they're
we
like,
also don't see Raven's face. I really wanted her to take off her hood so we could actually properly see her face.
but Beast Boy looks like he's freaking like a
Beast Boy
really
looks like he's,
haggard
like, in his,
68.
60s
A
or
really
70s.
haggard
Like
68.
Cyborg, you kind of understand how he looks that bad.
Yeah, like he's tired. His like circuitry is not working as well as it was like back
physically
in the
deteriorating.
Yeah.
But Beast Boy was like,
Beast Boy ages real bad.
I have a headcanon about that. Every time he
Oh.
turns into another animal, he starts aging at the rate of that animal.
oh.
So if you spend a lot of time as like small animals with short lifespans, you're going to be aging really fast.
I kind of
but
like
you won't
that.
notice it day to day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
he should just keep turning into blue whales, and then he'll live forever.
Beast Boy, we need your help. You got it. Foom.
Oh, I did like how in the Mothman episode, Day with Destiny, he turns into a jellyfish in midair to fight moths. I was like, okay. Like,
That
so
was an
far, all
interesting
the animals
choice.
he's turned into, I'm like, that makes sense. Like, he turns into an eagle because they're all got to fly. Or, like, he turns into, like,
A gorilla.
a gorilla because they're
because-
fighting
yeah.
something. Raven's like, block the door. And he turns into a jellyfish. And I was like, okay.
he always chooses the worst forms.
Every time I watched an episode of Teen Titans, one of my things was like, I wonder what Beast Boy's going to turn into. And whenever he turned into something that was like a part of the normal set of like animals that the animators could probably like make use of on short notice, I was like, yeah, okay, all right. There's the eagle, there's the whatever, the wolf, there's the gorilla. But when he like, turned into something special, like every now and again, it's like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, dinosaur. There's like an episode where they go to Starfire's home planet and there's like a terrifying monster that like all the
Ooh.
Tamaranians, like Starfire's like species are afraid of. And he gets to like see it. And then later in the episode, he turns into it. And it's like,
Ooh.
oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
He should turn into that every episode. Come on, Beast Boy. No more little birds.
What about you guys? Who are your favorite characters?
I like Cyborg a lot.
Cyborg is great.
I like
Yeah.
that he just wants to hang out
Yeah.
and be friends. But
He's
he's
very like a chill and reliable guy.
yeah. I like Cyborg a lot, but I think I relate to Starfire the most, or rather I find her the most interesting because it's like you said, like she's like an immigrant perspective. A lot of her storylines are about like culture clash or culture misunderstanding, which I personally find very interesting, and I'm glad that this kid show is able to talk about that. And I know Cyborg also has a lot of storylines about making assumptions on people based on looks and stuff, because literally he's like part machine
Yeah.
and stuff. And so people fearing him or not understanding him, which is, I think they use that to talk about like racism a lot or like prejudice. Man, Robin's got to cool down. Robin's got to chill.
Robin is so heavily traumatized. I feel like when I was younger, I loved Beast Boy a lot because he's small and plucky and all this stuff. And then Raven, I really liked Raven.
Raven has a super cool moveset.
Yeah.
So I really like watching her. Like, if there's like a shot of a bunch of Teen Titans, I usually am like gravitating towards watching Raven because I just like seeing how her magic works.
Very much so. That's another like flexible moveset where they
Yeah.
can sort of use it to do what they want with it. So there's a lot of variability and surprise there. Definitely on this rewatch, gravitated more towards Starfire just because it's like, I just really like this character.
Yeah.
By far, I feel like the healthiest of all of the Teen Titans.
I thought it was sweet how in the first episode in Nevermore, Robin's watching TV and she's like, should we check on Raven? I really think we should check on Raven. Although the cuts to them were so random.
Yeah.
So
and I was
jarring.
like, and they were like very quick moments. Like I was like, is this supposed to be a B plot? And there was no B plot. It's just Beast Boy, Cyborg, and Raven are fighting for their lives. Robin's watching TV and Starfire's concerned.
I understand the bullet because Robin's very much like she said she wanted to be alone.
Yeah.
So like it's out of my mind. And
Yeah.
Starfire's like, but what if she doesn't? What if she needs help? And then later Starfire goes to knock on the door and I love how they remember the fact that she is a super strong alien essentially. And so she's just standing at the door with her like arm out, like ready to knock. And Robin is using all of his strength to try to hold her back. And he's like, she said she wanted to be alone. And Starfire's just standing there completely undisturbed, like, but maybe not though. Maybe I should knock.
There should have been more shots of Starfire just obliterating enemies.
Yeah.
Because even as a kid, the few episodes I'd seen, I also felt Starfire's power set was underpowered.
They had to dial her back
Yeah.
to keep her from absolutely curb stomping every villain.
Yeah. Starfire and Raven could destroy the planet if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And Beast
Yeah.
Boy, Cyborg, and Robin could only watch.
Yeah.
They could not stop it.
That's why, again, I really like that shot of her fighting Robin, because that's when I was like, oh, she's really powerful.
Yeah.
And they really don't show that very often.
I choose to believe she's holding back.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is true to her character.
Mm-hmm.
So a good way to not power her down, but justify her not just obliterating everyone.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's also the case for Raven, too.
Mm.
Because even in the episode we saw with Nevermore, like when Raven goes all out,
Yeah.
she practically kills Dr. Light.
Yeah.
And the team has to be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Speaking of obliterating someone, Robin's verbal takedown of Slade, like, I'm not like Slade. He has no friends. I was like, oh, dang. Like, I get that, like, the message is that, like, oh, kids, like, it's important to have friends. But without the context of this being a kid's show, just like, Slade, you've got no friends. Like, oh, dang.
Just
Destroyed.
right for the jugular.
Yeah.
There's no like high-minded, like, the things I do are for the purpose of it. It's just like, you're a Sigma. I'm not like Slade. Slade is a self-described Sigma male.
He doesn't even have like henchmen. He makes robots
Yeah, he
of
makes
himself.
robots.
Wow, he really is Dr. Eggman.
Yeah.
Or,
Wow. Wily.
He was both.
Well, Dr. Mega Man, Sonic Man.
Yeah, that's the one.
I have almost no experience with either of these franchises, so I get them confused all the time.
It doesn't matter.
Heroes both blue, fighting Robot Man with big mustache.
That's all you need.
He rides in a thing.
Wow, I haven't thought about Mega Man in so long.
We should do a Mega Man episode.
Do you have a Mega Man connection, Gino?
Nope.
Me neither.
We had Mega Man action figures when we were kids.
I had Mega Man X, the video game, and I've played about 5 minutes of it because I just get bored and confused.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is.
Oh, that makes me think. I think back when the Cartoon Network website was different than it is now, they had certain games on there. And I remember, I'm pretty dang sure I remember there being like a Teen Titans game.
That sounds
That
right.
sounds familiar too.
And like like it was like one level per Titan or something, I think.
Yes.
Victoria, I saw the light.
This
like,
unlocked a
burst through
memory.
your eyes
I don't
like
remember anything
Starfire.
else, but I think you could like switch between like Teen Titans characters.
Does it
or
still
something.
exist? If it exists, head to our YouTube channel to watch a Let's Play by Victoria. As she...
I remember like playing it, and a lot of those online games, the controls can be a little
It
sticky.
was called Battle Blitz.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
the cartoon, those old Flash games were the best. I still look
And it was
some of them
kind of
up.
tough, from what I
Yeah.
recall. It was
No,
like,
they were good.
and when you reached like the villain at the end of the level, you were like, oh man, here it goes. Oh, we're looking at it now.
Oh, I guess it's
no,
not.
it's just on
Oh,
Wikipedia.
still in
but
existence.
Oh, it's
it's
just a Wikipedia.
screenshots.
Dang. You remember when they said that things
Go
on
to
the internet?
YouTube, look it up. I'm sure there's got to be something.
Yeah, Battle Blitz.
Remember when they said that when you put something on the internet, it lasts forever? Like you can never truly take it down?
Yeah.
We were all lied to because it's so easy to destroy something on the internet.
Well, we got the Wayback Machine, right? Kinda.
Yeah, there are some Flash games that I played as a kid that I recently tried to go find, and they're just nowhere. And there's people online that are also looking for them, and the general consensus is they're gone forever. There's not a single copy of them out there. Because everyone thought, oh, it's on my Flash game website. It's not
Yeah.
going to go anywhere. So no one thought to like save it, and then now it's gone. Just because like some company bought a company and then deleted a thing, and now it's just...
Wait, you can maybe play it on Internet Archive.
This might be something we have to do. I remember having fun.
Yeah.
I want to have fun
remember.
again.
20 years ago, before that clock was stolen from the museum. Yeah,
So-
literally 20 years passed, which is now, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
from when that episode aired. And it's
Oh.
like, in that episode, when 20 years go by and Starfire's in the future, it looks like global warming went in reverse.
I
because
did think
everything
that was
is covered in
interesting
ice.
because usually a lot of these time travel ones, it either goes like super like sci-fi, like technology has advanced at a super rapid rate, or it goes to like global warming has like bleached the earth and everything's a desert now. But this one went the opposite.
Well,
like
I guess
you said.
if we go in terms of climate change, perhaps we could say the extremes of climatological effects have
That's
resulted in a hyper winter
Yeah,
in Jump City,
Yeah.
which maybe they were just a few years off.
Oh no.
It'll be fine.
Victoria,
Yes.
you said your favorite character was Starfire, right?
Yes.
I'm surprised.
You thought it would be Raven?
I thought it would be Red X, considering your past association with the character.
Victoria was sitting here going, maybe we won't talk about it.
No, did you notice earlier how when you were talking about Red X's power set, I knew like way too much about it?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your lore, Victoria?
Okay, so I have like crazy Red X lore, but like it's so funny because it's like such a minor character in like the whole canon of like even just like the DC universe. Okay.
Well, just to set up, after Robin abandons the Red X persona in season 3, we talked about this briefly, Red X returns just some other guy with the Red X suit, and his character is as thick as a piece of cardboard, and he's just like, I'm here to take what's useful for me. I'm going to make a lot of money on this. I'm Red X, and that's all. So, Victoria.
Okay, so like 7 to 9 years ago, I guess,
So specific.
This was back like right when I started college. At the time, I was trying to make a little extra cash, so I opened writing commissions.
So I created this Red X suit, and I started
I
pulling.
became Red X. That would have been cooler.
No, this is cooler.
This is so...
Bare your soul, Victoria.
Do it.
Okay, so I opened writing commissions, and I was contacted by someone who asked me to write a crossover fan fiction featuring Red X. I won't say what the other fandom was because that's too much exposure.
Dang.
But it was another TV show franchise, which I was watching at the time, and then Red X had to be there. And this person was like, I want it to be like 20 chapters. I have the whole thing basically plotted out, but I want you to help me sort of refine the outline and actually write it. It sounded pretty good to me because I was like, 20 chapters. I was charging like nothing for this, by the way. I was charging $20 for 2,000 to 3,000 words, which is literally pennies. I think we like calculated for inflation and it'd still be only just like $25. But at the time I was like, like 20 chapters, that could be like $400. I'll do it. So I took the commission. I took the story that this person gave me and then I redid an entire outline for it, which was mostly pulled from what they had conceptualized, but I did add some things to help fill in certain gaps or like certain storylines that I felt like would help the story. And I was like, okay, great. So I'll start writing. I wrote the whole thing. And it was a really weird experience because I didn't really know that much about Red X, but he featured as like a main antagonist. Later, he like becomes good, sort of. But he gets like hired as like a mercenary at the beginning. And each chapter had to have a fight scene. So I got really good at coming up with things for Red X to do within his moveset, which is why I know weirdly too much about all the gadgets that he has. And yeah, it sure was a time in my life. This has now since been deleted off the internet. Like the person commissioned me for it. I wrote it over the course of like 2 years. Looking back, if I knew that it was going to take 2 years to finish the thing, I would not have accepted the commission. But by the time I didn't want to do it anymore, I was like, I've gone too far. I might as well just finish it.
You're in too deep.
Yeah. The person seemed very happy. And then we parted ways and it was up for a little bit and it has now been deleted. So you can't read it, even if I told you what it was.
Which is a tragedy,
That's
in my
okay.
opinion.
A loss. We were just talking about it. Things we think will be up forever.
Yeah, and they're just gone.
And they're just gone.
I mean, I think it is impressive that I managed to, in my opinion, write a cohesive storyline and like a cohesive character for Red X. Because again, like you don't really get a lot. Like I basically read everything that I could about this character and it wasn't a lot. But now I know all this information. So when we were deciding what episodes to watch, initially I was like, gonna tell Michael, like, oh, this is like a really weird request, but can we watch an episode with Red X in it? And then he had already given us masks. So I was like, oh, perfect. Now I can reveal my really random Red X lore.
But he's also especially younger Michael. Like younger Michael for whom General Grievous from Star Wars was one of the coolest freaking things ever.
Another character with nothing.
Nothing. But he's got 4 arms. He's got like a skull mask and he's got 4 lightsabers.
I learned the Jedi arts from Count Dooku. He told me to spin.
I kid you not, 2006 Michael seeing General Grievous do his spinny thing was like, I can still remember the palpable feeling that only young children can get of, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I had a similar thing for Red X as well. Like,
I mean, he is pretty cool.
yeah.
Like, again, I am personally of the opinion that Robin should have just kept the suit and just rebranded.
Just, yeah.
But I guess he's also a wanted criminal now, so maybe not.
Yeah, I guess I could be a little
I mean, how are we going to know who it is if he doesn't have that big R on the front?
Or his signature spiky hair.
Yeah.
Or the big mask eyes that are just sort of like pupilless and yet very expressive. Amazing how we could have such refinement of like superhero mask eyes that are expressive despite not having any pupils or nothing. And all it took was like 20 years for Marvel to catch up with their Tom Holland incarnation of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't 20 years, probably less than that.
Although I do miss the physical. I miss it when superheroes took off their helmets instead of the helmet just dissolves off their head. I know this is a common thing, but I also miss, going back even one step further, I miss it when Spider-Man had to be really expressive with his body to convey emotion.
Yeah.
Instead of just the eyes going beep, 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 beep. Because Andrew Garfield, full body, when he's upset, his whole body goes like, whoa, total tangent.
But interesting and fun.
Yeah. My brother actually had a Robin Halloween costume.
Oh,
he wore it a lot. So that's another random Teen Titans. So like,
outside of Halloween?
I just have little bits of Teen Titans knowledge in my brain.
Do you just like wear it just sometimes just because?
Wow. Around the house. He would pretend to be a superhero and just put it on.
That's incredible.
Robin's pretty cool.
Yeah. Except when he's not. Except when he's standing in the living room in front of the boombox blasting music.
Yeah, I was like, Robin, you jerk. What are you doing?
That feels so right for his character, though. Like, 2 of my friends are arguing about something petty in the middle of the room. The way I'm going to deal with it is by turning up this music really loud and sitting here and not dealing with it.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. I know people who would have done that. I could have done that.
For whatever reason, that felt like the people who were writing this or involved in the story creation must have had someone who did this in their life because it just feels very real.
Definitely is a very teenager thing to do.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on Teen Titans, the TV show? I had a great time watching this. I am glad to have these episodes curated because I had a really good experience watching them.
Yay.
And I'm actually interested in watching more now. I call it a success after my failure of getting into it the first time.
It definitely reignited my excitement for the DC universe. Like when Nightwing shows up in that episode, I was like, oh my God, it's Nightwing.
It makes me want to watch Young Justice again.
Yeah.
I do have great memories of Young Justice.
I have not watched Young Justice.
It's like aged up Teen Titans, like in terms of
Yeah.
target audience.
Should we do an episode about Young Justice?
We could.
Oh, we could. I'm
Yeah.
super down.
Yeah, I think it'd be
Specifically
fun.
like the first couple seasons. Because then they had their cancellation and their break and then their uncancellation. And it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
But also I was much older, so I don't know.
I think it'd be fun.
Season 4. Are we on season 4? Season 5. Young Justice.
Let's do it. And
Yeah.
if we have time when we do our recap for season 4, I can recommend other Teen Titans episodes
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah.
we can maybe watch
That'd be fun.
since we have like the baseline context.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to Nostalgia Club. If you want to contact us about anything, leave a suggestion, you can email us at nostalgicalpodcast@gmail.com. We also have Instagram at nostalgicalpodcast.
You can also leave a comment in the comments of YouTube or Spotify.
Yes, and please leave a rating because it really, really, really helps us out. Also, you should listen to Ghost Inspectors, an audio drama by Victoria Cheng, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's only 7 episodes. You have no excuses. Listen to the whole thing right now.
Also, if you'd like to support the show, you can leave us a donation at our Ko-fi We were joking that we need donations so that we can pay for our streaming services.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're getting more expensive.
Jacking up the prices.
No, it's fine. You can also follow Mouse Knight Studios on Instagram, Blue Sky. We do have Twitter technically, but we don't really use that because boo Twitter.
Boo.
Yeah. And
Boo
Tumblr.
this man.
We're on Tumblr.
Yes.
Yeah, at Mouse Knight Studios.
And until next time.
TEENTITANS, Teen Titans. Let's go.
Teen Titans.
You have to commit.
My voice can't go that high.
Okay, fine,
It
I'll
hurts.
do it. Teen Titans!
Teen Titans.